All right, so are here on the Momentum Hour, and the topic that has been brought forward is rejection. You want to expand on that at all, or
Yeah.
just general
So
topic?
my question with rejection and momentum, how they would go together. When you quote unquote get rejected,
Mhm.
the term that a lot of people like to use, and sometimes our mind tries to tell us, is rejection.
Mhm.
Do you, Stephanie, personally feel that, how do you deal with that? And when you are feeling it I can't say the word. And when you're feeling rejection, how do you remap? Or do you think of it, because what I'm working on training my brain to do and remember is rejection is redirection.
Mhm. That's a good way to look at it. And instead, because rejection is such a negative term to me, and like it's big. And the way that and I can't take credit for this. This comes straight out of business coaching. This is not my magical thinking. But we talk about it as managing disappointment, that something has happened that didn't go the way we wanted or anticipated, and now we can choose to stay in this cycle of they didn't want me, they didn't need me, whatever this was. Or we can use that disappointment or rejection as motivation to continue moving forward, either down that same path or a different path to what does lead us to the success that we desire. And it's not easy. It's something that takes intentional work, because it's looking at the bigger picture that, maybe there were other factors involved. Maybe it wasn't my fault that, it was a personality thing, whatever it might be. But backing away from the poor me part of it and looking at how can I use this to move forward in a different way, or maybe just a more positive way, and continue to pursue the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that word has come up several times for me this week. And I think naturally after doing the competition, that is something, it's part of the process.
Right.
But I've been working really hard on reflecting that it's not rejection. It's not that I didn't deserve it. It's now, okay, I get to fine tune my motor skills and improve on different things and gain the confidence to do different things. And then also with personality wise, when I feel rejected, I need to remember that I'm gifted and that everybody is eyes open to that. So it feels like rejection.
Yeah. And, something like in this situation, like there can only be one winner. That's
and we
not to
all learn
say
by learning.
everything that you didn't make a difference, that it wasn't important, that it wasn't incredible and wonderful. And it's coming back and regrouping. Maybe it is looking at skills that do need to be improved versus those ones you got it nailed. But at the same time, the other piece that I like to fall back on is keep doing the things even when they're not working.
Yep, it's true.
And that
I know that from losing weight and fitness and eating healthy. Yep, it's repetition.
Yeah, because you're going to come around to that point of consistency, that point where you continue to move forward because you haven't camped out in this place that sucks and gone further away from what you want to achieve. You're maintaining and you're growing closer to what you want.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll get to it and we'll be back.
So we can can start with the Courage Hour this morning and share with each other inspiration, support, insights around the concept of faith and courage. So I'm going to open the floor, and whomever is ready to share with us, just jump right in. Courage. That takes courage.
Okay, so I did something last night that it was one of those things. I was at this meeting and I was going to present, and it was one of those, like, it just it came to me when people were talking. So when it was my turn to speak, I just hopped up and I did it. Like, I didn't even really think about it. And I started my presentation with throwing out some of my gems that say "There you are" on them, and saying the quote, that some people walk into a room and say, "Here I am," and other people walk into the room and say, "There you are." And I'm saying, "There you are, Mary. There you are, Ben," right? And I'm tossing these gems. And it was kind of, I always feel like, oh, this is so hokey, right? Well, afterwards, I had 3 people come up to me and say, "I loved your presentation," because they're like, "Do you do Toastmasters or something?" And I was like, nope. So anyhow, I really felt like it just felt so good to know that going with the spur of the moment and being myself, that yes, it took me courage to do that. And yet that's when you get the power. That's when you get the connection with people, when you're yourself. So yeah, it was really fun for me to do something different than what I had planned before I went there, and to see it, just have an impact.
That's awesome. And there's that little moment when you say, "Do I or don't I?" Right?
Yeah.
And that's when courage kicks in, and you do it. You do it, and it brings you such satisfaction and confidence, knowing that you do have this gift, and you're a natural Toastmaster. There you go. You have those skills, and you were able to touch the people that were in attendance. And so I know that there's just that nanosecond of "do I or don't I?" And then you go ahead and do it. And that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Nancy. Yeah.
And I've got to run, guys, because I've got a 9 o'clock client, but good to see you all, and
Yeah.
have an amazing
Thank
day.
you for being here. Thank you. Beck, you were ready to talk.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I love that Nancy shared that, she did something that was different than everybody else, because I think that's where people get hung up on, do I or don't I? How will it be received, is like going against the grain, after so many people have already did it a different way. It's like, ooh, this is going to be, it's going to be different. And it's awesome to hear that she just did it, and that also that she got feedback, which is a gift, to be able to have people say, great job, and us be able to receive it as well, right? We could say, "Oh, you did such a great job," and Nancy could have been like, "Oh yeah, I did," and she could have explained her thought process of, I thought that maybe, it would be kind of weird to do that. She could have downplayed it when people commented on her presentation and saying something about Toastmasters. So I wanted to say, I really hope she received the feedback, and accepted that, she is a natural, and the passion shows when we show up as ourselves, and people, they feel that energy and they know that. So that's what I received from her story of courage to stand out and stand up as who she is.
Yeah. And the courage to accept the compliments, because when we talk about acknowledgments in Fearless Living, we talk about one of the most challenging parts of acknowledging ourselves is allowing others to acknowledge us, and to accept compliments without deflecting them. And just like you said, she could have deflected those compliments, and yet she took them in, and it strengthened her desire to be herself and to listen to that intuition, or that still small voice that says, "Hey, do it." And so not only did she increase in her courage and in her capacity to receive, but she also gave to others to receive, which will encourage them. I mean, courage is a part of encouragement, right? To step out and be themselves as well. So that was a great example. Great example.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Inspiration,
Yeah.
inspiring other people with showing up with the courage that we have. And so that could be a good point too, is to say, like, in some situations, like explaining, like, oh man, I was afraid of actually doing that. And I'm so grateful for your feedback, because that tells me I get to show up more as myself, and that does inspire more of people to say, oh, I couldn't tell that you didn't want to do it because you just look so confident. You showed up and you did it.
Yeah. So I appreciate that a lot. Your comments as well. It's really encouraging to me. So I'm going to stop the recording. I start the recording. And I know Beck was sharing about some of the things that she had, and Nancy shared this morning about how she was courageous enough to stand up and be herself and speak from her soul, and how she got really good feedback from that and building her confidence. But it was that moment of decision where you have the courage to speak your truth and not let fear get in your way. So we can just continue talking about how courage plays a part in our decision making, or an act of courage that we have been involved in just to support each other and inspire each other. So I will open the floor to further discussion.
Well, I'm just going to say that for me right now, I don't usually like courage feels like an easy thing to me most of the time, but it is like what I said earlier. It's because I control a lot of the variables, and I choose that. I choose a life where I can control. And so for me, one of the most courageous things at all is just being in this process that I'm in right now, where every single variable is up in the air. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. I don't even have plans for a house that starts construction in a week. I like nothing. We can't find anybody to put in a temporary electric pole. We like everything is on back order. It doesn't look like, and like on paper, nothing about what I'm doing works, like nothing. Every single thing looks like it can't possibly come together. So to me, that's a really courageous, for me, that's a big courageous move to like pack up my stuff, having no idea when and how I'll ever see it again, what condition it'll come out of this container. Like it just feels like I'm picking up my whole life and putting it in somebody else's hands. And that is, it goes up there with one of the most, for me, one of the most courageous things I've ever done, just simply because I'm kind of a control freak.
Yeah. And what is it that's allowing you, first of all, the awareness that you have no control, and allowing you to do it anyway and move forward? I mean, what are you pulling up from inside?
Well, that is the one thing about, okay, so I love this. I just read this somewhere else too. Like courage is not, it's feeling afraid and just doing the thing. It doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. I feel terribly afraid about how it's all going to work out. But what's the alternative? I mean, it's out of my control no matter what. Like, so I either muddle through and make, I'm coming back to that. There's like this poem, I posted it before a long time ago, but the end of each stanza, and it really helped me when I was a young mom. It's like, and do the next thing. And do the next thing and do that, like that's, and what else is there? Like, when it all gets overwhelming to me, I sit down, I read one chapter of a fluffy book, and then I just pick a spot and I start the next thing again. And I guess you don't have to like it, right? Like you don't always have to, like when I was little, my grandma used to say, like, if you want to be happy in your life, don't just do what you like what you need to do. And sometimes you just need to do the stuff. So if I find things I'm trying to like be in the moment, be present. When I find stuff that from when my kids are little, I try to have a little moment and like remember on it and then move on and move, just kind of keep doing the thing.
Yeah. That I think I really think that that's it. It's fear. I mean, there's got to be fear involved when you know you're in the unknown. And yet you have the faith or the courage or whatever you want to call it to do the next thing, to keep.
Well, and I do think this, like, it's just like our physical bodies, right? Like I do this daily workout and now that I'm on like 3 years of doing it, you have so much muscle memory. I can realize like my head is almost somewhere else. And because I've done it so many times, like you have a muscle. And so I think courage is like that, right? I'm a mover. So my thing is to take the movement, because you know what fear really is? It's a paralytic. It's like, it's that deer, it stops people in their tracks and then they stay so stuck. So if anything is serving me in this is just that I know that moving, like taking an action, even if it's the wrong one, like you can move. When you're in movement, you like have this flow. What I think that's one of the reasons I showed up today, because I can't afford, or I choose not to like get paralyzed or stuck in this. That would be the worst thing that could happen to me. So like for me, the courage is just do another thing.
Yeah. And thank you for being here today, because those are some of the things I needed to hear. Movement. That's what tells fear, okay, I know you're there. I'm just going to hold your hand and we're going to go along. We're going to do this thing. We're going to move to the next step. We're going to take the next step. We're not going to get frozen. We're not going to run away, and we're not going to fight it. We're going to go with it. Yeah. Thank you. I'm just so glad all of you were here today. We're here on purpose, with purpose, to support and love on each other. So have an amazing day. See you all soon.
Oh, good. Steph, I've missed you. Or Stephanie, I've hardly seen you. So good to see you.